The Indianapolis Colts made one of the more intriguing picks when they selected Jalen Simpson at the end of day five with the 164th overall pick, in which they got in a trade with the Eagles. And at this time, the pick was kind of confusing. Jalen Simpson looked to be undersized and didn't really make a lot of sense, especially because he was undersized, like I said, for a free safety. But I think what the Colts are going to do and what they seem to have expressed doing is they may have a real dark horse for a potential starter in week one of this NFL season. All that and more on this video. What's going on? I'm Elijah from Sports Talk Indy, where we cover all things Colts every single day. And if you haven't yet subscribed and liked the channel, be sure to do so. We'd love to have you a part of this community as we continue to grow and get ready for this NFL season. But we're talking today about Jalen Simpson, of which the Colts drafted 164th overall from Auburn. And I think that this pick, like I said, was a little confusing. Jalen Simpson's combine didn't look great. His production score was 57th, which he ranked 20th out of all safeties. His athleticism score was great. It was a 72 out of 100, of which he ranked 11th out of safeties, and his total score then combined was a 62, which was 18th amongst safeties. Some analysts, including this from Emery Holt from CBS, or Emery Hunt, excuse me, had Simpson ranked as the top free safety. But I think what the Colts are going to do with him is going to surprise a lot of people, and that is that they're going to use him in a hybrid role. This isn't the first time that they've done this with a guy like this, but I think when you look at what he was able to do, he's had some good stats. I mean, he was a 5-year player at Auburn because of the COVID year and what they were able to do. He did play 5 years, so he's 24 years old, which is kind of weird. We're like breaching the end of this time where like players are going to be like a lot older than they were. Usually it was like standard 22 years. But then you get guys like Anthony Richardson who came into the league and was like 20, 21 years. And now just turned 22. So, but anyways, he played 5 years at Auburn. He played 2 games in 2019, but then every other year he played the full amount. He had 38 tackles last year, 29 solo tackles. He had 3 passes deflected and 4 interceptions last year, one or for 87 yards and a touchdown. That was last year's stats. But when you look at this guy's film, it looks pretty good. I think he actually does a very good job of playing this. But what I think is going to be interesting is that the Colts are known for a defensive style. And it's not new to the Indianapolis Colts. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that the Indianapolis Colts or Gus Bradley invented this play style. But what I am saying is that a lot of teams are catching on to what the Colts are doing, and that is bringing back the true cover three. And what the cover three means, if you don't know, is that they run 3 deep safeties, which oftentimes means that two are you have a strong safety, your free safety, and then one corner will play a hybrid safety corner role. This is the coverage that got blown by Nico Collins in the game last year, of which Nico Collins got absolutely, just went for 75 yards and a touchdown, which ended up being the nail in the coffin. Not to bring that up again, but if you want to know the coverage style, the Colts were missing a big piece last year. They were missing a few big pieces, but specifically in the secondary. I think adding a guy like this who's going to come in and be able to make an immediate impact and play decent coverage man to man, but play really good coverage in coverage or in cover three, or just in his zone coverage in general. I mean, this guy's got speed. He ranks at 6'0", 179 pounds. So like I said, they would typically rate him as undersized for a safety, but not bad size for a corner. His arm strength or his arm length is 32 and 3/8, and his hand size is 9 and 7/8. His 40-yard dash, this is where I want a lot of attention. His 40-yard dash, let me just pull it up here, is 4.45 seconds. His 10-yard split was 1.1, vertical jump 39.5, and broad jump. Those are all very, very good numbers, especially for a safety or, as we're talking here, a cornerback. Because when the Colts drafted him, they immediately switched his position over from being a free safety to being a cornerback. But what I also think is interesting is that the Colts still have not made a significant signing in the free safety. So either they love what they've seen in Rodney Thomas and Nick Cross, or they really think that this guy has a shot to be the week one starter. This guy's impressing a lot of people. I mean, coaches and players are talking pretty highly of him. This report comes from Destin Adams today from A to Z Sports. I think Simpson's ability to experience playing single high situations will be valuable once training camp begins. Personally, I think he's the clear best option to start week 1, even before training camp begins. While he may begin camp working as nickel cornerback, I hope they realize how big of an asset he could be at free safety earlier rather than later, because I think the Colts landed a day 1 starting talent in the 5th round of the 2024 NFL Draft. That's a pretty big statement to make about a guy who, again, didn't really turn a lot of heads when he got drafted with the 164th overall pick. But watching this guy's film, this guy has really, really good ball hawk ability. He sees the ball well. He sees where it's going to be. I mean, there was a lot of plays. There was one that I watched in his highlight reel of which it was against Jaden Daniels of LSU, of which he batted the ball up, and was his other teammate was able to make the interception, but he really should have had it. But it was a great interception of a route. Interception in the true form, not like interception. Again batted the ball up, but interception in the true form of like he got to the ball, picked off the route, and immediately was able to get there and get a hands up. And again, I don't think the numbers here are telling the whole story of his pass deflections. He only had 3 last year, followed by 4 interceptions. And again, he plays in Auburn. I mean, that's a pretty big market team as far as you're playing really good players constantly. And I'm pulling up his stats now on where he was per game, but I really do think that the Colts have have the ability to make a big and bold move by making Jalen Simpson the day 1 free safety. They listed him as cornerback when they drafted him, and they didn't really. I mean, you have Micah Abraham at cornerback. I think Juju Brents is going to be really good. Um, I think that the Colts, I actually am more confident in their cornerback room now than I am in their safety room. And I think a guy like Jalen Simpson, as undersized as he may be a really valuable asset into being able to be a free safety starting in week 1. And again, this is a team. The unfortunate thing is that the Indianapolis Colts face one of the most intriguing and potentially dominant offenses in football week 1, which is not ideal. But I think this is going to be a real test of what the Colts are going to try and do. And I think there's going to be a lot of, don't be surprised if you see a lot of movement in what the Colts are going to try and do as far as offense or as far as defense goes in that backfield. They're going to play it. They talked about, Gus Bradley had an interview and Shane Steichen kind of doubled down on this, where they said they're basically going to play the feed the hot hand approach with defensive backs. So if a guy has a good read on the quarterback and what he's doing, understands the opposing plays, team's playbook a little bit better than others, he's going to get the starting job. So they don't have a true starting free safety at this point, but I would be very curious to see where they're going to be after training camp. But right now, it definitely seems like Jalen Simpson has a real shot to be the starter in week 1 this NFL season.